to order Wednesday, September 25th at 1:07 p.m. Take it away, Lori.
Okay. I'm going to stand. I've been sitting too much today. The first one is, this is our current ordinance. We had talked about the budget a week ago, and I had asked if we should look at special pay for the council and the mayor. And so this would be looking at this ordinance where it sets the wages. So what I did is I put it out to my group to see what the response would be. And these are the responses I received back. I asked that everybody keep it under a population of 10,000. And I put our tax base in there and asked that they would reply. So as you can see, we are in the highlighted yellow. Over average of everyone, we are paid in average, a little above. But as far as the special meeting pay, that's where I think we could change things up a little bit. And this is in your packets as well. So we pay $30 for special meetings or public hearings. We are established now with Personnel Committee, and I'm hoping that we can put together a Finance Committee down the road. So sometimes the personnel is meeting for 4 hours. Sometimes special meetings are taking 3-4 hours. So looking at the special meeting fee, I would recommend that you change that to be more in line, but that's up to you guys. I'm just showing you the data.
Well, I would just say whatever you think we should do, Lori, but I would leave it to you. But
I can't hear him. I can't hear what he's saying at all.
He thinks it
I just said we should just leave it up to Lori.
Oh.
Whatever she thinks is the right thing to do.
But you have to do it by ordinance, so the council has no choice but to act on it.
Yeah.
I'm fine at leaving it where it's at.
Well, the only one who's less than, who's even close to us is Stewartville, but they get $6,000. Their pay is $6,000, which is substantially more than we get. So, I mean,
She's talking about the special meeting pay.
I know, but
They get
but
6,000.
I think Lori, though, was talking about that special meeting.
I know, but I'm saying they only get $25, but their pay is higher. So everybody else gets more for their special meetings.
I'm a fan of leaving it where it's at.
Well, I think if we spend 5 hours in a meeting, that we should get more than $30. Just personally speaking. So.
I guess my comment to it is typically, I mean, I just, for myself, on my paycheck, I usually get one extra meeting a month. You know, that's what I get paid. Maybe two a couple times, but mostly it's one meeting a month. And I think I could
You
probably.
should start getting paid for your personnel meetings.
I think I could have probably a couple people vouch in here that I'm probably in here 3 times a week for meetings. All right. So I'm not sure how it is.
So they should be formal meetings like personnel, finance, public works, safety, things in that nature. If you look at that chart, I would say either you can keep it the same like Jackson's suggesting, or you just go to $40. That would be more in line. And that's still on the reserved side, if you will.
$40 for approved meeting? Yeah.
And then it should also state, like, no special pay if directly before a regular scheduled meeting. I think that's important too.
So if we have a budget meeting at 6 o'clock, a regular meeting at 7, no.
Well, no, I'm thinking like truth in taxation, when it starts at 6 and you're already coming for a council meeting. Personnel, you would be paid because that's a committee meeting. So I'm talking anything like a special public hearing before a council meeting, or the truth in taxation before a council meeting.
You want to make that motion?
Yeah, I would like to make a motion that city council members receive $40 per approved meeting,
Amending the current ordinance.
as opposed to 3.
For special,
I'll second it.
Okay?
for
Any-
special meetings, $40?
Yeah.
Well, I think it's
I think she said approved.
meeting,
Approved
whatever
meetings,
that
yeah.
means.
I don't like approved meetings. If you want to say special meetings or committee meetings or the position of liaison to a committee, I think it should be spelled out instead of approved meetings. That doesn't really say a whole lot.
Those that are approved, either committee meetings or special council meetings.
So if there is a liaison to Public Works, the liaison gets paid for the special meeting, but if 2 council members want to go to that meeting, do they also get paid?
No,
No,
Just in their capacity?
Just the
Right.
assigned
Yeah.
council
just the
member.
appointed assigned, yep.
I really think you should state,
Well,
for either committee meetings or special council meetings. I'll amend that.
Okay, and Aaron, I believe you seconded that?
I did, and I still do.
Okay, any other discussion on it? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye?
Opposed?
that motion, this ordinance has got to be approved at the council meeting, right?
Well,
They're doing it right here.
this is a special meeting.
Are we going to go with the first reading and then adoption at the next meeting, or not?
That hasn't been well, no, that was at the last, so we can have this being the first reading of ordinance. What number is that?
Ordinance
378, and then in October, then we can have the second
Second reading and
Yep,
adoption.
yep,
And then it's got to be effective after the election, the day after the election. You can start it, or you can do it January 1st.
if that's how are you amending that motion then? Because ordinances can be changed at any time.
Well, not salaries. Salaries are after the next election. So you wouldn't be able to change this salary.
Without amending the
until
budget?
November, I don't know the election date, the 5th?
November
6th?
5th.
November 5th.
I have
We
been
can do
told
it the
that.
first of the year for convenience sake.
So effective November 6th.
5th is the election, so the 6th is.
Okay.
And I agree with you.
Cheryl, can you read that motion back to me, please?
I just said that Sandy made a motion to receive $40 for the special extra pay, and then Marcia opposed.
I opposed. I opposed.
And Marcia says that it's not going to be effective until after the election.
After the first of the year, I believe.
Are we going to wait till the first of the year?
I said November 6th.
Okay, okay.
Okay.
Okay, and we went all in favor, but what did you vote on that, Marcia? I didn't.
Yes.
Okay, so 4-1, Jackson opposed. Motion carries.
It's not like it's going to really affect me.
All right.
Here comes the fun stuff.
Okay, so budget. I'm going to start first with a lot of the changes, and then I'll show some documentation to go along with it. So I'm going to start with that first so we can answer all those questions. So one of the questions came to me the other day was, how about let's get cell phones for all the council members and the mayor? What would the cost be? So here it is, $38.23 times 5 people times 12 months. That's how much it would be. I do believe you all have iPads, correct?
No.
No?
I have got one.
So 2?
Aaron's got one.
It's not an iPad, I don't think. Maybe it
I've
is.
got the same thing as
Was
that.
something
Okay, then if
similar
it's
to
probably
that?
an iPad then.
It's a,
So,
well, even if it was,
yeah.
that's fine.
With events of recent, it was brought to my attention that maybe it would be nice to just have cell phones for you guys and utilize that. I'm just following through on the request. So this is the cost, and that would be something that you guys could vote yes or no to, and then we can move on.
Well-
I'm not in favor of it.
Yeah, I'm not in favor of it either, but could they not request our personal cell phone records if somebody were to request it?
They have to, they have every right to, because our city cards have our personal phone numbers and everything else, so this is the only way around it. Unless you want to do city-issued iPads, where you're only doing email, that's one thing. Even if your personal email, or your government email is on your personal computer at home, they have every right to everything in your computer. That's how it goes. So that's why I brought this forward, to stop this issue. You can't have any phone call. They can go into any phone call, anything that you're doing on your personal
So
phone.
if we went ahead and approved 5 cell phones for the council, then they couldn't go into our.
They can only, right, then all of our city-issued, because our city-issued phone numbers would be on city-issued cards, our city email would be on our city cell phone, you keep it off your personal phone, everything is on the city phone, so then your personal phone is not able to be
The
whatever.
only time they could get to your personal phone that way, Dave, is they would have to prove that you are receiving phone calls, and that would be a significant added burden on the requester.
Or if you forward your city email to your personal email and respond from your personal email, then they can get into everything. This is why I brought this forward.
I think we're getting excited about something that occurred that probably won't occur again for another 30 years, so I don't
And then
I don't
this is
think it's
just
necessary.
the cost, but not the cost of phones, not the cost of insurance on the phones. This is just the hard monthly costs
Gotcha.
of just the service.
Do they already have iPads available for us, if they just haven't been issued?
I
I've had
thought they
mine
only
for
had the
years.
2 that Aaron and Dave had.
Yeah, I've had mine for years. It was issued
Right.
to me for years ago. I don't,
You're going to give it up now, aren't you?
huh?
You're going to give it up now.
No, I thought everybody got one. that was in
Are
the,
you gonna give it up? Are you gonna turn it
oh,
back in?
absolutely, I'm turning it in. I don't own it, the city of Cross Lake owns it. I'm sorry, Marcia.
That's all right.
Hearing aids,
I'll
and I'm
yell
just-
next time, Aaron.
I don't agree with this phone thing, you know, I mean, if they,
Well, I won't give mine up till December because this is the only place I receive city emails.
I just wanted
I
to
don't
bring it to
accept them
people's
into my
attention, that's
personal
all.
email account.
chances are,
I just wanted to bring it to people's attention.
you're gonna call me on my cell phone and then it's gonna open up the whole cell phone anyway, so.
Yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah.
I just wanted to bring it forward.
Well, I think it's too expensive.
No, yeah, you're not wrong.
I think she said for 23, so I'm assuming you're lumping the 5 in with the others.
Yeah.
So
Right, but that $2,200 would turn into $8,000 by the time you bought phones and put insurance on them.
You know what? Do you get a text or something on city business during the day? I'm not going to carry 2 phones.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think anybody's going to. I don't know.
I guess we're going to pass on that.
Okay, very good. So going into the budget packet, these were all the explanations of what you guys wanted me to change, look into, et cetera, from the last meeting. So I just put this in your packet showing that I've made the changes and marked them off as complete. Okay?
Okay.
I'm going to go right into the capital outlay. That would be page 2. Okay. So everything highlighted in yellow would be the changes. So the first one would be that preventative maintenance. You asked that I put 30,000 as a reserve for that, which I did.
And that is a blanket for everything under the city. $30,000 a year will build up a fund we can
Yes,
tap into.
yes.
Okay?
I doubt 30,000 is going to build the fund, but it'll sure offset the cost and get some preventative stuff going on.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, the next page, page 3, was under EMS and changing those figures. We had a higher number in there for the sirens, and now Chip provided some good information. Do you want me to put them up and you'll talk about it, Chip? I have them here. This was the first one.
So when I had Federal Siren up here last Monday with the service company, we toured every single siren we have throughout the city, which is 11 of them. The 3 that are not working are the Cross Lake Lutheran Church or behind Tremolo, Perkins Road, and O'Brien Lake Tamarack Road.
Can you give me the numbers of those, Chip? Do you have them there?
It would be number 4, 6, and 9 on the map, on my map. So I received information on Monday. Right now we have telephone poles that are being overrun by woodpeckers, and they also have not been serviced for a long period of time. So the quote that we have up on the screen here is for 65-foot Class 2 wood poles with a metal mesh around the pole to prevent woodpeckers. That's the new siren installed for $92,147. The next one we have up on the screen is for 70-foot galvanized steel used poles that are 10 years old. They came from a nuclear power plant. They look brand spanking new. They're galvanized steel, and they're to replace 3 would be $95,447. You would not have any maintenance on these poles forever.
That's for 3 sirens?
This is for, yes, same quote. Yep, 3 sirens replacing the 3 that are not working. So that'd be a brand new siren, new pole, electrical,
One
everything.
is stainless.
No, it's galvanized steel.
Thank you.
All 3 are galvanized steel.
Yeah.
The 3 we would replace would be galvanized steel. So that's one option. The third option would be brand new 60-foot galvanized steel poles, and you can see the big price difference. So the total will be $129,606.
And 70-footers, are they comparable to what we have now?
We have 60-footers. There's
Well-
60. We have 65-footers.
What's the difference between the first and second
I
quote?
was gonna say, what was
I'm sorry.
exactly?
The
I
first
missed
quote
that.
was wood pole.
Oh, the
like
first quote
92.
was wood.
wood.
Oh, and then the
Second quote is a used 10-year-old galvanized steel pole that's 5 feet taller.
Okay.
Galvanized.
Steel, the used ones.
I'm that
Agree.
direction too. I think that's
I
a
agree.
smart idea for only $3,000 more.
Those little woodpeckers.
Good woodpeckers are.
Those little peckers are gonna peck those nose off.
So that helps with 3 of them. So along with that is the estimate. The estimate from the service company, and while they're up here to install the 3, they're gonna take their boom truck and go visit every site, open up the box, see what's going on, see what needs to be fixed to make them, see if they're spinning, because they have never been looked at in 25 years. And basically service what they can service, look at them, and then we can determine where to go next.
Okay.
What we need to budget for.
Correct.
So that's 5,500 to go and service them all?
This is to go check every single one, see what's going wrong with them, how can we make them work?
Can you
I
get a
don't think they're
service
gonna service them,
contract?
they're gonna,
We'll
They
get
come out
to,
every
we'll
year?
get that, we'll get to that.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Inspection, right? The 50.
This is the inspection, yes. Since they're gonna have the truck here,
When are you looking to do the inspection part of it, Chip?
as soon as I get approval from the council to move forward, I'm gonna try to get it done right away.
You know what, can we do that now? Can we go ahead and approve that second quote for 95,000 for the used?
Where would you like me to take that money from? The telephone company?
Sure.
I'm good with that.
I'll make a
Because this is a big thing for us right now.
It'll be a $100,000 expenditure out of the telephone company funds.
Yes.
I'm good with that.
I'll make a motion that we go with the, I don't have the correct number, 95.
95,447.
Oh, she put it in the budget.
It's in the
Okay.
budget.
You know, you can do it now, this is a council meeting.
And while they're here to do that
And the maintenance.
$5,597?
The maintenance on it too
Yes.
for 5,000, whatever it is.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries, all in favor.
So you're going to take that out of the budget now? Or are you going to leave that in for future?
I will take it out of the capital, and then we will talk about what is next here with CHIP.
So they also provided us with a agreement for warning system annual inspection and preventative maintenance contract, which you can sign for 1 year, 3 years, or 5 years between 2025 and whatever you all decide. There's 11 sirens, and then it's $695 per siren, which comes out to be $7,645 for a service yearly annual inspection and preventative maintenance, meaning greasing everything, making sure that the belts are working and.
Is there does the cost go down per year if you extend the number of years you're agreeing to? How many years you got to go out anyway?
I don't think I read anything about lower cost anywhere.
Is this just for one year? You're not getting a contract for 3 years?
You can do a 5-year contract at $7,645 per year in the agreement that it shows up on the screen here.
So basically, they're locking in their price, they're not giving a discount.
Correct, so
So
they're
you
not
would
gonna
hold that
increase it.
price for 5
But
years.
I thought I saw a 5% increase. So down at the bottom, it does say, system reserves the right to increase costs up to 5% each year due to inflation or unforeseen cost increases, at the bottom of the page.
Well, personally, I think it is a safety feature for the town. I think we should probably have them, inspected every year, just to make sure they're all working.
I have that next.
So it basically is what we want to do moving forward. A lot of it depends on what they come back to us with after they do the inspection. However,
Well, should we finish
I
this
know,
one?
but that's the thing, I don't know if you have to do it every year, that's,
Yeah, it seems,
I would think that we've gone 25 years with nothing on
but
it.
I'm pretty sure none of them spin, so.
Okay, but I mean, this maintenance $7,900 one, couldn't we do that every 3 years?
That's what I was getting at.
So if
like-
we're doing the 5,597,
Wait a couple years,
and then do it, and then.
and also
revisit.
find out what else is wrong,
Yes,
because he did say that our poles are really bad.
Well-
And that's the other thing is, we should plan down the road to replace all of them,
Replace 3 of them a year or
something. So what we also have is a quote.
this one?
Yep. They have 3 more used poles that they have in the yard right now, and they may potentially have more coming. But you can get 3 more poles, even if we don't use them this year, we can leave them at Public Works. And that's $13,350 for 3 more 70-foot poles, meaning we'll get ahead of the game, we already have the poles.
right.
I'm just throwing it out there because poles are expensive.
And they're only gonna become
This
more
is how
expensive.
Yeah, I mean, if you look on their 11,000 each.
I would go with the poles. I'm a fan of just getting the poles now and letting them sit for a little bit.
You don't have that on the budget here though, Chip, that's additional, right? It's not on a budget.
I again would buy those and use your funds right now. If we can get a discount, I mean, look at the savings.
Yeah, they're 12,000 each, and
Yeah.
here it's 4,400, and they
And we
look
don't
brand
know.
new, and I trust the guy that they look
You're
brand
sure
new.
they're good quality and you're.
Yeah, he
can
wouldn't
just add
be
that
allowed
to
to sell them, they have to get inspected and everything, so.
I think you need a motion for that.
But they're lifetime, and they're 100-year poles.
I'll make a motion to take out that additional, what was it? Chip,
It's
$13,350
$13,350.
for the additional 3 more poles out of the, phone company money.
I'll second it.
Because I think shipping is included in that, and they would be coming with the other poles, right?
It did say include delivery to,
Yeah, so they're gonna be piggybacking with the other poles that we get?
They bring all 6 of them at the same
Correct,
time.
so we're saving a lot of money
Yeah.
on that area.
Good work, Chip.
And that funds are to come out of the phone company also,
that was the motion on the
13.
table.
the 13,000 additional,
Yes.
okay?
But how are we handling 2025 budget? Are we going to leave that 95 in there in case they come back with an inspection that says you need this one and this one and this one replaced too? I mean, we should be ready for next year, if that's the case. If we haven't replaced these things for 25 years or whatever the case,
Yeah.
we should be ready for it.
So just leave the 95 and take out that 5,000,
Well, I'm just suggesting. I'm not-
597. I think that's a good plan.
The other thing they are gonna look at, I didn't get it by today, but an engineered audio distance, how far they project out, because Manhattan Beach is, there's nothing out there right now. So they're gonna look into if any of these newer sirens are gonna be able to, because they're higher decibel,
Yeah.
so they might reach further.
Yeah.
So we might not have to put one out on Manhattan.
So
we're
Marcia,
gonna-
you're saying still spend the
Well, I-
total,
I
but
would
keep
take out-
95
Keep it in there?
Yeah, I would keep the 95 in the 2025 budget and remove the maintenance ones, because you're going to do maintenance now, and you're not going to start a maintenance contract for 2 years. You don't need that till 2026.
Right.
Because then
The
you
maintenance.
can get the additional 3 next year.
Right.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, if you need them, I wouldn't go out and buy them if I didn't need them, but whatever.
And like I said, there's one that's over 50 years old that's getting replaced this year, and the rest are all over 25, 30 years old. Yeah,
No, I think that's a good idea.
they actually laughed, so.
And just so the citizens know, we realize it's not in the budget, but it's a public safety issue that we need to act on as soon as possible, so
I think we
that's the
need to
reason
vote
for
yet.
it.
We voted on the last one. We didn't make a motion for this one.
Okay, that's what,
We can approve the whole capital outlay once I'm done, okay?
okay.
Thank you. And then the next line item was leaving, it was discussion on the John Deere
Yeah.
lawnmower for Public Works. If Parks was getting one, does Public Works really need one? And it came down to you guys saying, go back, TJ and Pat, and talk about the position and where it will fall, whose duties. And I believe, TJ, you can jump in anytime.
Yeah, Pat and I talked about trail maintenance, and we decided my staff will take care of Daggett Pine Trail and Perkins Road Trail, since that's close to South Bay Park. We're already going over there to maintain it anyways. All the other paved trails will be maintained by Public Works.
Okay.
So do they need another mower?
Yes.
I can't answer that. Is that what Pat was?
Yes,
Referring
they
to?
do,
Okay.
for that position as well.
It says not needed if we have a 50-50 split, so that's the reason I question that.
We do-
Right,
We're
but-
not gonna have a 50-50 split.
And that is your guys' determination, that's why I left the verbiage on there, to
Okay.
make sure. Okay? And then the next one was, because I forgot to put the 2023 repayment back for the bond that we did not issue, so now that's on there. And then, that's, removed the money on the Melinda Shore Bridge because that was for this year. And then my final page, there were no additional changes. So that's your capital outlay budget.
Seems awful simple.
Great.
So I move to approve the,
Can I ask a question before we go further? The $216,000 that we have for capital outlay this year, we're not using, that doesn't pertain to this 132 you have in there.
Where are you looking, Marcia?
The sewer fund, remember we had 216,000 in sewer budget this year, and Pat had told me that we weren't doing anything. And so I'm just wondering,
Oh, is that the concrete floor?
yeah,
There was 25,000 and I did remove that because the 50,000, there's only under $1,000 that has been spent out of that fund balance. And so that will just carry forward, so we didn't need to put in an additional 25,000 into that fund.
so whatever's left at the end of the year, this year, you're going to put that in sewer assigned balance, or is that what you're doing?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, all right, I just wondered about that.
Cool.
Yes, with the changes of leaving that 95,447 in and removing the maintenance of 5,597 and removing the 7,645.
So I make a motion to approve that based on those changes.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carries.
Okay. Page 5 is your revenues. The top line is your tax, and that is highlighted in yellow based upon what we're going to do here. So that is your number that could change based upon our conversation. But nothing changed until, well, I still highlighted the special assessments on Daggett Pine Road because I don't have that number yet. I hope to have that soon, but I don't have it yet.
Oh.
But it really isn't going to change,
Drastically.
no.
So don't we do have a figure on special assessments, the Daggett Pine special assessments, right?
Well, we paid the city's portion this year, but what I'm talking about is, I think I have to put in there any interest that we would get. I don't know how many people are actually going to prepay, so I don't know how to calculate that interest that hasn't come in, if we have to special assess it to the county.
What's the date for,
Cheryl, we
Is
gave
it-
them 30 days. What's the date? I think it's 3 more weeks.
there's not a date on
Okay.
the letter, I don't believe. Giving people the date.
I haven't had anybody come in that wanted to spread out their payments. Every check I've received in full payment so far.
Wow.
We need to know, why would you spread it over 10 years at 4.75% or $1,000? But anyway, that's just a thought. Is there a date? The drop down? Is it the 30th? September 30th?
It was 30 days, but
Well,
I don't think it's the 30th.
We just adopted at the last meeting, right?
Yes, and then we sent out notices on that Friday.
Yep, and I've been receiving checks. This is week number 2. So.
Because it doesn't really say in the letter when the date is that.
I thought it said 30 days from the date of the letter.
15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20.
Of approving the assessment, so I suppose.
If we did 30 business days, it would be October 25th from the 13th of September.
See, I think, maybe I don't remember right, but I thought the letter said 30 days after the assessment was approved, so I would assume that that would be the,
I'm not sure. You could go grab that. Then we won't guess. And while she's doing that, I'll just go on to page 2 of the revenues. Your $160,205, that's that number that changes based upon sewer operations, less depreciation and revenues. So that's the amount that we can levy is $160,205. So we have then total revenues estimated at $8,548,099.
Lori, could I make a request that we get city-issued magnifying glasses so we can read these things?
Hey, I put 5-year comparison because someone in the audience requested that, so that's what I did.
This is really hard to focus on.
Focus on the yellow.
No, it looks good.
I've got bifocals.
fine.
I'm struggling.
It looks good.
Cheryl, what'd you find out? October 9th.
October 9th is the day.
Wow, lucky.
So your next page starts with the expenditures. Page 7, council, and that's wages and salaries. So I will go back and change that now based upon our vote to increase the special meeting and estimate a couple more meetings, and so that number will just increase slightly. Okay? And then office supplies was added in for $500. The request came for business cards, so that's how much business cards would be for everyone. And then administration, the yellow line for repairs and maintenance. That's where I put the HVAC, which I will now show you the quote that Chip gave us, or got for us from Cross Lake Sheet Metal. So we have fire hall with 4 furnaces and recommendation changing the filters twice a year. So that's $1,158 plus the $440. The ambulance bay was $268 with 1 furnace with 2 filters plus $110. And then City Hall has 7, and that's 14 filters. So it'd be $1,746 plus the $770. So I actually put those into each department's building repairs, okay? Thank you, Chip, for doing that. I appreciate it. And then the community center library would be $1,000 per visit, so I put $2,000. Okay. The next change was well, I didn't change it actually. The audit, you asked me to gather bids. I did have a conversation with another auditing firm. They anticipated it to be around $40,000, but I haven't received a formal, so I left it at $42,000. Okay? And then once I have all 3 of those, then I'll present it to you guys at a council meeting for vote. Planning and zoning, we talked about putting an intern in there and trying to utilize the Sourcewell grant that would pay up to $15, but worst case scenario, I left the full amount in as per your request. If we get the grant, perfect. Page 7, we're still on page 7 right here.
Say, is that the 10,000?
10,400 right here. Sorry, I also have to bring it up to my eyeballs. So,
Don't we have long paper here?
yeah. Communications, I increased that just based upon the 5-year average. Taking a better look at that, I just moved it up a little bit, $100. Legal notices, again, I looked at the 5-year average and adjusted that, $50. And legal notices publishing, that remained the same. I had increased it, but I actually dropped it back down because of the 5-year average being $1,546. And then filing fees, I increased to $900 from $800. And then this is still under planning and zoning. The septic inspection, we had talked about taking that off of capital outlay, and that's a right? The septic inspection, it was $8,000.
Yeah, we're going to separate out.
Yep. So I have a separate line item for it now. It wasn't on there before.
Yeah, I think it was under consultant fees previously.
Okay.
Did
many
you find
numbers.
out if you can combine the numbers so the history would go with it?
No, I haven't. I'm sorry, I haven't. And then also under planning and zoning, that's the consultant fees. We have them at $4,000 because we split that out. That's right, that's a septic. So that's page 7, okay? Page 8, under the general government, I put that number in for the preventative maintenance under HVAC. So that's where the 10,500 now shows that. In communications, I increased it from 500 to 1,000 based upon the 5-year average being 906. And then legal notices, I increased it $100. There was a concern about electric utilities, so I did raise that up $1,000 from 10,000. The 5-year average was 11,433. Going down to police. Okay, I have some police items here for Jake. He wanted to show you his annual calls for service on the screen.
Yeah.
Last week, when we were doing this, and talking about possibly adding to the budget some money for another police officer. Since then, we got these numbers. Since then, we've got these numbers put together for you. As you can see on the graph, the blue highlights the number of calls for service we get each year. A call for service is everything we do, from a traffic stop to medical to a burglary, anything. So then the orange, what I did was I gave us the total number of calls for service if you took out traffic stops. Traffic stops are kind of a proactive thing, that we do when we're not busy handling other calls. But as you can see, our numbers have increased significantly in the last 5 years. It just keeps going up. We kind of tried to come up with a projected number for this year, and that's what we ended up with. If you go back to like 2017, we weren't even past 2,500 calls for service for the year. So I mean, it was getting close to double in just the last 7 years. Underneath that, in the writing, we put the number of calls for service per licensed officer. As you can see across the lake, I did 5.5 officers because we were kind of down an officer for about half the year last year. So we're the highest in the county as far as the number of calls for service per officer with 733 calls. And then, I mean, if you take Brainerd or Baxter or Crosby, I mean, they're all, and the sheriff's office, they're all well below us.
That's shocking.
Yeah, we're busy.
Compared to Baxter and Brainerd, per officer, that surprises me.
Well, that's the whole point I'm trying to make, is that I don't know how else to project those numbers without, we're just as busy on that level. I mean, if you look at it that way.
When did we go to 6 officers?
When did we?
Yeah.
2018.
So in 2000.
And we've been hiring, about one officer every year and a half to replace that 6th one because they kept on going somewhere else, which we've taken, thanks to you guys, very good significant steps to keep them here. And I think our guys are happy. I do not see losing anybody. They all seem to be super happy working for the city right now. This last year was stressful. It's been stressful to try to get shifts covered, and when we've been down a guy, and that could happen at any time.
Yep.
But you agree that we can't put an officer on just in case that, another officer on just in case that.
Well, I'm not saying it's a just in case scenario. That's why I'm showing you these total numbers.
I understand that, but I think that, I think we should be very careful before we add another officer, because you're going to add the benefits and all the other stuff, the police car.
Our next, yeah, you got it up there already. Here's those numbers. I don't know that I have to talk about it. You guys can see the numbers if you look up there. Kind of the next page. So Marcia, you talked about getting a new car. I believe if we went this route and did add another officer, what I would do is hang on to the car that we would be getting rid of next year, hang on to it for one more year. We still have another car coming, then move to a 6-year rotation on the squad cars with 2 being bought every 6th year. So it kind of stays the same. That'll eliminate a lot of that overhead cost right off the bat from that new squad car.
Can you see the cost for the squad car again?
The what one?
Squad car.
So just the squad car there, Jake, is that, that's all new equipment in it, or have you prorated?
That would be basically to buy the car and buy all new equipment for.
So what percentage of that new equipment do you think we could reuse, repurpose?
This one, next year we would reuse everything. It would all be in that squad car still, it's already set up. But we have to replace most of that equipment next year, and we've already decided to do the radars. Basically, it would come down to buying an extra camera.
I'm just wondering if those numbers are actual or if they're a little bit inflated, because usually when you get rid of the squad, you take some stuff out.
Correct.
The new squad.
Correct.
I don't know how much.
So about the only things that we'd have to buy for the new car if we're keeping it in the old one would be camera and a radio. Everything else was set to be all new anyway.
But I know I've tried to get it on a 6-year rotation and absolutely can't do it.
And
I'm
I
sorry, but that's the way it was.
We left that
If you have 7 officers.
squad car in, remember, we had talked about removing it. I left it in because I did find another spreadsheet that had that this was the 6-year rotation or the 5-year rotation, so I left that in.
Currently, it's a 5-year rotation because we can't do 6 years.
Right.
They don't want to do 6 years. So.
Yeah, generally speaking, what we used to be at about 100,000 miles on squad cars after 5 years, about 20,000 miles a year, and those are hard miles. You got to remember they have about as much idling time too, because of the hot and cold. Everything has to stay the same in those cars. In the winter time, we don't shut them off and let everything get freezing cold again, then turn it on. And that's a pretty widely accepted range for mileage on the squads if you want to maintain, decent working cars before they start nickel and diming you. I'm saying we could go to 6 because I'm just looking at my squad car, the amount of time I spend in the office. Mine's 2 years old. I only have 25,000 miles on it right now, 30,000 miles. So it wouldn't make sense to replace it in 5 years if it's only got 80,000 miles on. So I think I could stretch out to another 6.
But you're still gonna need 7 squads,
Correct.
so we're gonna need a new squad.
Yeah.
Regardless.
Right.
Regardless.
And again, all we would do is we'd just keep this next one instead of selling
Extend
it.
it out 1 year.
Yeah, we have a new one coming in.
But if we're looking at $100,000 and we have 18,000 in overtime, I think I would choose 18,000.
Well, that's a good question too. Do your guys like overtime? I mean, that's,
Extra money.
I don't know if it is or not, because it probably gets taxed.
It's never really, it gets taxed and, yeah.
Doesn't make any sense.
With part-time
thing-
wages being paid out of only 708 and overtime 17,380, yeah, you really need to give thought where you want the city to look.
What if
and
they
go
didn't want to work overtime? Luckily, right now, I got 2 guys this year because of just a new baby in the family and some other stuff that they're doing in their lives, that the overtime was nice for them.
On average, how many hours is each officer working a week?
Jake?
More than 40, right?
Yeah, well,
or
yeah,
darn close.
I'm assuming that that's for the 4 officers, because you and the sergeant are on salary.
correct.
Okay.
I don't know on average how many hours they're working over per week. This is the number that I got when I asked Shar how much we paid out in overtime. Normally, I'd say on a normal year, we probably won't pay out more than a couple $1,000s in overtime, because the only time that happened normally was if somebody made a late arrest or something like that and ended up going past the end of their shift. But
Some of that's going to be court time, some of that's going to be
Yeah.
travel time and connected to court stuff.
correct.
It just doesn't make any
So
sense.
you're saying we don't need to budget a new squad, an additional squad, but we would like to budget $100,000 for a new officer?
Eventually.
Right?
Correct. Yes, and then, is that what that, let me read that.
So I think down at the bottom, Jake, this is where you gave the difference.
Yeah, the 75,000.
So that's what additional it would cost to do that.
Correct.
If you subtract that.
If you took out the part-time budget, which I would get rid of the part-time,
There'll still be a level of
Officer.
overtime that you're not going to get away from.
Seems like they were.
And the 15.
and then lose the overtime pay, then we're down to, on an annual, after the first year, because the first year is the work cost to get somebody set up with the uniforms and stuff like that.
So Jake, you, with your crew you got now, the officers now, and they're getting vacation time, how much of a conflict do you get into with wanting vacation time and having to do the coverage?
Well,
Is that okay, or is it a problem?
it's only a problem if two people, like this year, with one person being injured,
Yeah.
and then people want vacation. I was working nights. I worked a couple of night shifts. I worked some weekend shifts. The sergeant was working the same, being bumped around. That's where, like, Pat and Cody stepped up and covered shifts to take overtime, so we did have coverage.
Yep.
That's because we were short-staffed.
Right.
But stuff happens.
Yeah, well,
But you've got late
It does,
calls,
and
you've got
you-
court, you've got all kinds of stuff.
but you don't put another officer on in case
No, no, I'm
something
not-
happens.
I mean, I'm looking, here's what I'm, this is what I'm,
I oppose
what the
it.
chart was. We have 733 calls per officer last year. Crosby's got 8 full-time officers, and they only had 656. That's two more full-time officers than we have, and they have less calls than us. The sheriff's office has 46 full-time licensed police officers, and they only handle 401 calls per officer per year.
We're handling 756.
What's that?
I said we're handling 756.
Projected for this year,
Right.
but last year's actual. We're not,
You could budget for it for 6 months, and you'd still have all the front-end costs, but then you would have probably 3 to 4 months into next year for the new council to make a decision which way they would like to go.
correct. I'm just
For the
asking.
final?
I'm
But they
just.
wouldn't have a budget to support it.
Well, if you gave them a 6-month budget, yes.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I'm just,
Oh, you want a placeholder?
it still needs,
You want a placeholder?
yes, this is still, we can still talk about it more.
Which is in your
I'm just
budget.
presenting you the numbers. We're not getting smaller and we're not getting slower. I mean, everything about this community is growing every year. And what happens when we're even busier now or next year than we are this year, and we have another injury or somebody's out? What if somebody quits? Look how hard it was to hire that next full-time guy.
Was that the 101, Lori, or sorry, where?
So
Where are you?
You'll get to 108, and I have a placeholder for part-time 31,002 because we didn't know what we were gonna do. And then right below that would be the $75,065,
Okay.
and that's just wages. And then those other line items, that would be the increase difference to add that one for para, FICA, and FMLA. So all those in yellow
Okay,
are your floating ones.
What's the vacant?
that's this new
Vacant would be
officer.
this officer, should you approve it. I put it on here for worst-case scenario.
Now, is this one we're looking at?
And you have 31.2.
Hold on, how do I say it? Never mind.
31.2 is part-time, and we only spent $700, I think, or 840, whatever. Isn't that the actual year-to-date?
Right, and
I think
even
we'd
the
be-
5-year average is low, 12,713.
I think we'd be better off increasing our part-time wage and getting somebody to come in here have it beneficial for officers in the area to work part-time.
We did that, Marcia. You guys already did that. We bumped up to $30 an hour.
Well, maybe we'd need to bump it.
Nobody wants to
35.
work part-time. You can't even fill full-time positions. What is somebody
Well,
going to take a
I'm
part-time?
saying that would be officers that want to pick up a shift somewhere else, from Brainerd or whatever, wherever they would come from, Pequot or.
That's why we're down to one part-timer, because we can't get that.
Well,
We
that's
used
what
to
I'm saying,
have 7, we
increase the
used,
wage. Well, I guess it's no secret, I'm opposed to another officer and another car, so I'll just drop it.
Police officers are very hard to come by, as you all know. Every city is playing leapfrog, jumping over the next city that raises their hourly rate. And honestly, if we put this out there as a placeholder, it's going to take months to fill this position anyway.
That's what I was gonna say anyways. Even if it's a placeholder and we start looking and looking and looking, we might not be into July of next year.
But past experience is that you said we would get that. I
Well,
think we went
past
through that
experience
with the
can
deputy
go-
clerk. Well, it doesn't.
You can't, yeah, exactly, you can't get what you can't get.
Right.
But nobody wants to move to a very lovely, high-end, expensive community for part-time when you have a family to support. And so even though I love the fact financially that a part-time person would fulfill our need and save us money, I think police officers in general are super hard to find and probably foreseeable like that for next few years.
I think it'd be nice to just mill the idea over a little more and keep it as a placeholder with more information, seeking more information.
Yeah, that gives us a little flexibility in
We
our
could
budget
maybe
as
see
well,
some
which
more
I
just
like.
Hours, you know, how, I said just more hours, seeing what the actual overtime hours are, what the average is.
Can have a placeholder in case.
Right, we'll keep it as a placeholder and we'll just keep running numbers and milling the idea over and see where it lands.
See what the trend is and.
Is this in the budget without increasing the levy?
This is on the levy that I'll present.
Okay, sorry, okay.
I'm simply bringing forth facts and knowing the climate of law enforcement at the time, I don't.
Well, we don't want to be playing catch-up.
That's what I'm afraid of.
Okay, moving down the line, then, the next one was the operating supplies, and that we increased for ammunition because that's the line item. No, that's training, I'm sorry. Operating supplies I increased just because the average 5-year was $4,049. The next, I increased all the auto expense just because trends show that everything is costing more money to fix. We had $1,500 in there. I just increased all of them $200. There is my ammo. We didn't have a line item. It was always put under training. But Jake and I visited yesterday and we felt we should really keep track of that separately and have money reserved just for ammo. And so he asked for $2,500.
So do you take it out of training then?
I did not reduce training because we hadn't, we looked, it was like a $3,000 bill in 2021, right? Or 2, yeah. Yeah. So I did not reduce training because training costs were, let's see here, I have to find it.
Jake, how far behind are you on your orders getting ammunition in?
They're getting better,
Are they?
but the last ones we ordered took over like 6 months.
So you're just getting 2023 orders in?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Okay.
Am I not seeing it?
Were you looking for, Lori?
I was looking for training. Isn't that where we said we?
That's what I was gonna
Oh,
say.
yes,
It's probably
there we
in there,
go.
huh? But that's reduced down to 400 and it's only 367 now.
No, instruction fees I have at 10,000.
Okay. I better get my paper out.
Oh, there it is, 10,001.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. One line off. I need a ruler.
I got mine. Take your nameplate.
Okay, sorry. It is 10,000.
Yeah.
I was one line up.
And then finishing the police department, dues and subscriptions, and that would be this page. And LETG was going to be $22,822, but you said that we have a $20,000 grant? Okay, so you'll see that when I do my assumptions, okay? All right. Moving down to fire. Where are we? Operating supplies. They had 500 last year, but we added I went up based upon averages, but not quite to the 4,000, but I increased it from 500 to 3,000, just because our operating was a little bit bigger on average. And motor fuels, I increased by $500 because gas isn't getting cheaper. And same with diesel. I increased it $750. And then repairs, building repairs and supply maintenance, that's where I reflected the HVAC. And then,
I have a question, Assistant Fire Chief. Why is it at 15,000 when we've only spent 700 this year so far?
Where?
Oh, it'd be 101, 42, right at the top.
Oh, up top.
Yeah.
We're going back up.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
it's the second
Second
one.
one.
Chip,
I think we should leave it at that, whatever in the past has been
last year he
3,500.
had 15,000,
600, yeah.
600 on there.
But I don't know why, because we were only at 700 this year.
Right, I'm not sure if
And
they're being coded
3,500 the
correctly.
other,
Right?
So the stipend for the assistant chiefs and the captains, I'm not sure it's getting coded correctly.
So that's a big number for one.
yep. It should be no more than 3,500 there. Because previously,
Correct.
the 4 years there, it was 3,600.
Well, I know we increased, deputy chief was getting 5 now and then 300 for the battalion, but it's not reflected in this.
It's wrong.
As of date, it's wrong, correct. The as of today,
It was as of 9/20.
yeah, that should be,
So this isn't
they're not
just
getting
the
coded
assistant?
correctly.
This isn't just the assistant, this is the command
Captains.
staff?
Yes, correct.
It's what?
The command staff.
There's-
As a
The
whole.
assistant chief, the captains, the
As a
lieutenants,
whole.
anybody that gets a stipend.
It's probably over in services or wages, probably services, I think.
So is that $500 a month? Well, what is the actual,
It's 500, 350, it's 11 or $1,200 a month for the leadership staff, command staff.
well,
But
there's
that's
something
for
wrong.
all 4 of them.
Right, it's not in the right line, I don't
Send it
think.
up the flagpole.
That is the one that Shar had everything targeted to on the payroll system, so I just kept it. If we need to break that out differently, we can do that. But if you're feeling that that needs to be reduced to the 5-year average of 6,000,
No,
I'm
we
just
haven't
saying that-
approved
That
number for
this
them.
year's,
It's-
this
it's-
year's expenditure is wrong.
500,
Right? You're saying
300.
700 is
Right.
not right. Because if it's $1,500 a month, that doesn't come out to $700 year-to-date.
That's what I'm saying, it's not being coded correctly
Yeah,
in the payroll, so it needs
Exactly.
to be
Yeah,
fixed.
I'm agreeing with you.
Yes.
You like,
Holy buckets,
you
get the
like,
newspaper in here.
I
Get,
think you
hurry
just
up.
automatically think you got to fight with me.
5, 6, 7, 8.
So that is something you and I can talk to Shar about on
It
stuff,
should
how
be about
it's set up.
$1,050 a month.
Okay,
I'm just saying.
No, I hear you.
so we'll have to get that fixed. Okay, what's down here?
Building repair?
Yep, I did building repair, and then cellular, I just increased that $500 to be more in line with a 5-year average. And same thing with travel expense, I increased that to be in line with the 5-year average.
So I was just gonna bring that up. So our adjusted amended 2024 was 8,856
Where?
in 4,331.
331?
So we have our Chiefs Conference coming up in October, so we're gonna have another probably,
It's been averaging 47,
$2,500 more,
54.
so.
You're saying that the average is 5,000. That's what Lori's saying.
Yeah.
Right, she's saying, so I'm just saying, we're gonna be,
You better get a grant.
Where are you traveling to?
Duluth during MEA is the Chiefs Conference, so
I'm just asking.
it's 270, I mean, I'm just saying it's ridiculous cost, but I don't pay, none of my travel gets paid for by the city because I'm on the Chiefs.
Oh, they pay it.
They pay mine, but they don't pay my other staff. You've never paid a hotel for me for 20 years.
So last year they budgeted 4,000, but the 5-year average was
I thought
5,000.
it says.
So what do you want it to be? What do you think it should be?
So 2024, it says amended budget, 8,856.
But then if you go over to the blue, it says approved.
Blue, I'm colorblind. Okay, 4,000. Sure, stick with the 5. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, and then the actual in 24 was almost 5, it was 48. 48.56, so.
And we're not
I just know
down
I'm gonna be
to
spending
24.
about $2,500 in 2 weeks.
Do you, if you're feeling that that travel is like that, the costs are expensive, everything's going up, now's the time to fix it.
That's why I'm bringing it up.
What do you feel comfortable?
The
7?
problem is I never know who's gonna go. I offer to 2 or 3 people to all the,
Can I go?
because they have to go, they have to continue education, so they have to go, so. Some don't go during MEA because they have families and they do something else, but I know this year I have 3 people going, and then we have the officer school in Alexandria, and we have another in Duluth. So I would like to put it up at like 7.
7,000, are you guys okay with me changing that to 7,000?
If it ever gets used, I mean, sometimes it doesn't get used.
Sure.
But
I'll give you 7K.
Consider it done. Thank you.
wow,
Holy buckets.
Cheryl, you have that changed?
This is wild.
Yeah, let's get our daggers going now because next year I won't be here.
Under ambulance, I added in the HVAC, that's the only change there.
I think we need to name one of our engines after you, Marcia.
I think so.
Going down to Public Works, I added in that 50/50, I added in full-time there because TJ and Pat had worked that out. So you'll see the wages reflected there and no longer in the parks. Okay, motor fuels, I increased 2,000 to be in line with the 5-year average. And then all the uniforms, here's where I have that. So, TJ did
Oh, good.
talk to GLS
Good.
about the price of pocket t-shirts, the high-vis safety, the long sleeve, and 1 winter jacket every 2 years. I added another shirt in there because, you know, it's gonna get ruined.
Just in case.
And plus, they still, on union contract, requested and we approved the 400, although it's not been signed. So it came to 782, so that's why I put 785 in the budget.
Perfect.
Okay, go to page 10. I'm getting there. Oops. Okay. Engineering fees, I used the 5-year average, so I had to increase it $10,000. Engineering isn't getting cheaper.
That's fine. Most of the engineering fees goes in on the road project, anything.
Yeah.
Anyway, in the capital outlay.
Okay.
This is in case we are dreaming up a new project that we're not really doing right now.
So, that makes sense. And then utilities, I left that the same. And I just wanted to show you that, because I had actually decreased it, but now I brought it back up. And then garbage disposal, brought it up to the 5-year average. Dues and subscriptions, brought it up to $3,850. I went through the costs, the true hard costs, so that's what it needs to be. Okay, all the way down to Parks and Rec. So you can see I removed that 50-50 position there towards the bottom of page 10. And then page 11. Increase motor fuels, increased diesel, increased repair and maintenance of equipment, increased repair and maintenance of vehicles, and supplies based upon historical data. Remove the uniform because we no longer have that person, and then sales tax, I increased that just to be in line with the 5-year average. And that's it. Until you get to the library, I changed book sale expenses to $100 from nothing, just because there is a little bit of expense. Page 12, there were no changes, because that was basically your debt service, and they are set. And your TIF.
So we're going through debt service. If we do a bond issue for our road, our year 1 and 2, the debt payment will occur sometime next year or not? Or are you just going to do it interest the first year and then principal payment and interest after that? I mean, you can set it up any way you want to, but I just wondered, is that what you're thinking, is that you don't have that?
Right. In one city I have worked with, it was their decision not to levy for the interest, but in Breckenridge we always did. So I didn't put a placeholder here. I didn't know what you wanted to do.
I think we should budget for it.
Budget for the first year payment?
I don't know when the bond issue is going to occur. I mean, when it's going to be finalized and stuff, and how they're going to set up the debt schedule. But, and you would have a little bit of control over that as far as if we only do an interest payment. If the bond issue doesn't get done until the middle of the year, we could conceivably do just the interest, but maybe we want to do a principal payment right away too. There's nothing wrong with either one.
Right.
So
what is the preference that you guys have? Because either way, I can do it.
I know nothing on bonds, so whatever needs to be done with
I think I would
bonds,
do
it.
a half-year interest, half-year principal, and what was his name? I forgot his name, the bond guy that helps you out.
Is that drone?
Not Jerome.
Oh my
Jason.
gosh, what's it?
Jason?
Murphy,
No.
Murphy. Yep.
Okay. But I mean, I think I would talk to them and just ask them, you know, on this type of bond issue, I can't remember what it is, $1 million, or is it $2 million now? I think it's $2 million something. What the
P&I
bond, the
would be.
principal payment you know,
Yeah.
projection is.
Yep.
I mean, they're not gonna know until they sell the bonds, what,
I'll do that because now's the time to put it on our levy.
yeah.
Yeah.
I just think you should be
won't
prepared,
affect-
you're gonna make that payment, so.
It won't affect our general, so for
No,
you guys.
it'll go in the
but
debt-
it'll be on our debt service.
Debt
and-
service levy.
Yeah, I like that too. I'll do that.
I'm not saying it's right. You guys can say no, but I
Well,
think it is.
I like to do that
Yeah.
too, but I didn't know the preference. So going.
Good job, Marcia.
So going through, economic development hasn't changed. Under the sewer operating, I did put in, some added expense for building repairs, maintenance.
Yep, we talked about
And then the lift station, increase that to match more in line with the 5-year. And engineering fees. We talked about that last time. And that was, oh, did you, okay, okay. And then
She's having the big one.
utilities, I increased because they're going up. There's your expenses.
Can I just ask the engineering for sewer, 32,000?
I think.
Is there a reason for that? Or, I mean, do we have something pending? Or is that, what's his name? John Rotman coming in and redoing the wastewater treatment plant? I mean, that would be logical, but I would think that if we're doing a capital improvement, that that engineering would go under that capital project. I'm sure there's a justifiable reason.
Because this is the year they were supposed to do a feasibility study for the operating plant. There was that $32,000 from, I had it up in capital outlay, and I was told to put it on the budget for the feasibility study on the expense. That's what my note says.
Oh,
Per our
okay.
last meeting.
So it's a feasibility study, it's
Yep.
not part of our project. Okay, makes
Okay.
sense.
Alrighty.
So it looks like we're, you know, our expenditures exceed our revenue.
Yep, and we're gonna go through that after this next page, okay? So then I was asked just to show what our balance was at the end of 2024 for our bonds and what our payment is and when the final year payment is. And Dave, you asked me for that, so here it is.
Fabulous.
Okay? So, now, go back to my beginning here. I have to flip my page. One thing that I do not have in here, because I just received it, was the roundabouts and the maintenance of. So I just got this today from TJ. He was kind enough to gather the information for me. And so to treat that roundabout this year was $315. And then for the spring and the midsummer fertilizing and the weeds and the snapshot herb, $1,805.
Can't quite see.
There you
Thank
go.
That's gonna be the annual cost.
Right, if we hired this
Okay.
company. Okay, that's a small amount. I'm gonna have to put that somewhere in the budget.
Are we gonna do it in parks or we? Parks, is the Parks taking care of that roundabout?
Well, it looks like they would be. And then Public Works would be doing some of the boulevard. Is that the other green space? Because they were adding that position, and when I talked to Pat, he would do some of the mowing, but not this roundabout.
Put the costs in one place. I'd put a Parks, or a Public Works.
Put it in Public Works?
Public Works at some point is going to take over it anyway.
So it's a relatively small figure. I think I'll just put it there in the expenditures, okay? Okay. Goes down here. So your first one is scenario number 1. But let me grab my pages here. Page 17, replace with this page.
17.
Page 17.
Where's our final?
Okay. So the first page, being page 15, that just shows you if everything stayed the same and we had no increase, right? So our levy would be the $5,098,450. You've got a tax rate of 18.72. So your second page is going to break that down a little bit further. So you have your total revenues on the top. This is on page 16 here. I can just show you.
Oh, we're on 16.
Okay. And then down at the bottom, I said I would show you the adjustments because we have that shortfall. But we would, you remove the depreciation. We have the spend down on the police car because it was ordered this year, but we won't be paying for it until next year. We have the part of the 5-year capital plan for the parks. So we talked about that last time. Taking $125,000 out of park dedication fund, $60,000 out of the park CapEx. And then the fitness equipment, we would use the fund balance from that for $4,600. And the pickleball courts, $48,000. The library, we would take $2,000 out of their fund balance, or from donations, I should say. There's that $20,000 LETG that we were talking about with the chief. And so that shows a net decrease in cash. So that is a break even. Over here in the orange, I show the total bonds that we would need to do, and that would be for year 2 and paying back for year 1. And then what you decided to do for this year for that roundabout. Okay, down here it shows you then that's 0% increase. Now I'll show you scenario number 2. Oh, this is this sheet that I gave you.
Except
Yeah, go ahead.
the debt service will be more,
Well,
right? Then it won't be at 0 anymore. The debt service will be whatever you
yeah,
calculate out.
yeah.
So 0 sounds really good, but it's not quite the
The levy, the debt service would be just a small percentage change, but the levy would be the same.
just,
Yep.
yeah.
So this shows, this number is now 95,000,
Can you
But-
pull down your,
but you'll see it down here. That number is 95,000, and that's 95. But the values down here are right, okay? So this just shows you what, at today, the 18.72% So say that you had a $2 million house, your taxes would be based upon our percent, ours, the city's, $3,743. That's after removing the exclusion.
That's not the increase, that's the tax.
That's the tax, yep.
Otherwise, I'd fall off the chair right now.
So if you had a $250,000 home, you're only paying, where'd it go, 250? 500, no wait, I need to use my deal.
You're paying it over here in the last
Right,
column.
exactly.
You can see the estimated
Yeah.
market value here on this page 15. In '24 was this $2.47 billion, and in '25, the county gave me the 2,475 number. So it's only a 2.86% change. Okay? So that's scenario number 1. Now I have to give you a new page.
Are we on page 19 now?
Say so, what?
And so this one is this one right here. So this would replace page 20.
Oh, I can't get rid of that page now. Should I pull out one that has a?
And this replaces which one?
Page 20.
20.
When this is all complete, will we have a updated packet, Lori? With the right pages?
You can have one, yes. Because I have to make tweaks that we just approved.
Right.
Okay. So page 18 gives us a little bit of cushion in our numbers from before the approvals today. 160,017. This would take our 18.72 to 19.3 for our tax rate change. Then if you look on page 19, everything remains the same except for your general levy. Again, that's that little bit of a cushion, that 160, and then that's how it would affect your property taxes. So I think I used the 2 million, so instead of 3,743, it would go to 3,861. Okay, now my worst one, giving us a little more cushion. And that would, now the next one I'm gonna hand out, just replace page 23, okay? Is this how you guys went through it before, or am I killing you?
No, this is good.
No, I mean, it's,
This is better.
I don't know what
very
what you're
good.
used to, but this is how I've done it. And I'm willing to change.
This is perfect.
Right, this is good.
New 23, correct?
I don't know if you,
Okay.
I don't know if you heard, but this is perfect.
Oh, thank you. Did you hear me? I said I'm still young enough to change a little bit.
Not me.
So page 21, this is giving us a cushion of 215,549.
We don't need
Okay.
that.
Remember, I like to have that cushion because we can go down, but we can't go up. Okay? And then page 22 reflects that, same thing. And then this is your cost jump. So what, 3,700 and some to 3,009. I recommend, and it's just a recommendation, that we take this last one. We have a little bit of cushion. I make the changes that you guys have suggested today. And then before we do our final truth in taxation, we can bring it down should we need to.
Does that include the,
And
the
this,
placement holder for the police department?
what?
Does that include the placeholder for the police department?
It's already in there.
First, second, or third.
When will we hear on, like, MNP and, what's the other union? Ask me.
If it was up
When
to
will-
me yesterday, but you know what? I have left so many calls with both MinP, and yesterday I finally connected with Troy, because I emailed him like 3 times. I need to hear from you, need to hear from you, need to hear from you. And so they're drafting. Ask Me is pretty much done. It's MinP that I'm wanting a couple changes.
So you have those wages in the
I
budget?
have the wages reflected.
In the budget?
Except for MinP, there's only one. They wanted to do a 2.5 step for one of our directors, and I said, if everybody else is getting one, they're getting one.
Are the wages from MinP reflected in here too? It's just
Yes.
the one wage thing. So how about
Yes.
the insurance?
The insurance, I added 10%,
Oh, okay.
and that's reflected in the budget. I'm waiting for Harlan. They're behind the 8 ball. We should have had our numbers to us. Okay. I'm used to working with a consortium, and they have your numbers to you between September 1st and the 15th.
Yep.
And so why we are behind, I'm not sure, but
Well,
if you hear that I'm a
cross-legged.
crabby city administrator to him, it's because I was. I said, I need those numbers for a reason, and I need them now. So anyway, I don't have them, so I added 10%. I did add the increase of life insurance from 20 to 40. I just doubled everything. And then I told them for dental, I gave them a couple companies that I wanted them to quote out. So I added dental I added 8% because that usually doesn't go up as much as health insurance.
Health insurance has been, since I've been here, has been a problem getting the numbers into us. It's been the December meeting, it seems like we're making final decisions.
Bottom of the ninth, always.
You know,
So-
it's been a difficult process, so
It's
it's
it
not
is.
new.
It's hard.
Welcome to Cross Lake.
One thing I didn't change in there, Marcia, though, was because it wasn't voted on, and that is one of the topics I wanted to discuss, was the HSA. The IRS is saying, oh, guess what, we're going to raise it again. So single is $3,300, and a family would be $66 out of pocket. Right now, it's $32 and $64, and so our contracts with all the unions have always reflected that whatever the IRS sets, then we would be paying, except for Teamsters. Right? Teamsters said that they're set on that, and the employee would pay the difference. So we have, you know,
Don't either, but it's
a couple, 20,000.
Are you saying the contract says the IRS requirement, or does it say, I think it says
No, it just says
three-
any
It says
increase. It-
30,
Yeah, the contract for a Teamster says $3,264, but if there's an increase that the employees would share the difference.
but
I
they don't
believe.
share in on that.
No, they don't.
start reading through.
So we have to decide collectively if we're going to increase them across all the unions, because,
Are we required to do that? Because I think that's what we were faced with, and they said we had to do it, and I'm not so sure we do have to do it.
I think the historical, I asked, what is the historical background on why you guys are paying the full deductible? And Harlan told me, and I got it from him, that there was a big cost savings to go from the standard co-payment plan to the high deductible plan, and then the city picked up the HSA. Now, I'm just going to say, you guys are very generous, and while I appreciate that, I also stand up here today representing the budget of the city and trying to be fiscally responsible. And at some point, where do you draw the line of keeping up with the IRS? And how are you going to pass that on to the employee, or are you going to continue to pay for it?
So you're saying if we just leave it at 32 and 64, of course, if the deductible's 3,000, they're picking up that 200.
Yep.
So it's not a big, it's
But
not like anything we have to change as long as it's in the contract.
Right, and I don't know how the contract will read out in ASME, and MNP did already mention that those deductibles are going up. So I'm sure they're going to put it in their contract before we sign it. I'm just saying.
If we don't put it in the contract, if we're not required, I don't know why we would do that.
Right.
Because that's a one-time thing. Usually when you do a concession based on a better deal, that doesn't extend on forever. That's that time. I mean, where you have to increase it constantly.
There was an MOU, though, back when the Teamsters contract read 3,000 and 6,000, and I did find that MOU where there was an adjustment for 32 and 64. So, I mean, we can leave everything as it is unless we get that MOU, or they present it in this contract, because it came out as a big blurb this week. Increase, increase.
I think we should just leave it in the contract the way it is, and if they want to come and ask us to do MOU, we can say yes or no at that time.
Okay.
That's my opinion.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring that to your attention.
So Laura, you asked us 1, 2, or 3. Did you get an answer?
No, I'm waiting for a motion.
There's just one thing to consider, is that you're going to be adding that to that debt service.
But that
That'll
doesn't
change.
change the general operating levy.
No, but it'll change the levy. You're adding, if you're
Yeah.
adding 100,000 to that debt service levy, that's part
Yeah.
of the levy,
That will.
the 100,000. So
Yep.
take that in
And that
consideration.
160 cushion is pretty much gone.
You bet.
Yeah,
Yeah. So I'm just saying is that,
careful.
yeah.
I agree with you, Marcia, on that.
Well, this last
Well,
one,
you
this
can-
week, it provided us $215,000.
Yeah, so just say that we put 215, so now you can double the difference from the first presentation of the 3,700 some on a $2 million home, and then just take that difference to the third one and double it. Because that's the value of the increase in taxes. So instead of just say it's 225, it'll be now 450. We can come down. I just want to have a little bit of cushion.
Okay.
I mean, this is
I
my
wrote
first
that-
year.
I wrote that quote down, we can come down, because I don't think they ever want to come down in December, but I'm,
I'm wondering if that 160,000 cushion, honestly, Laura, I'm wondering if that's sufficient at this time. Okay, I'm saying at this time. In December, I might look at it at a very different view, but I'm wondering if we shouldn't be just a little bit higher to be safe, rather be safe than sorry. If not, you're into your telephone company money, and that's these three people that are going to have to make that decision.
but the,
We're already dipping into it for the sirens and the.
Yeah, that's my point. You're already getting into it, so
but she's,
careful how deep you
she's
go.
saying that it's not going to affect the general levy, it's going to affect our debt service. What I'm saying is it's going to affect your debt service levy, the overall levy. So you don't really have to, if you go with that third one, that has nothing to do with the debt service levy. So you would still have that cushion, but she's going to have to add that,
Yeah.
whatever she finds out from Murphy.
Jason. Well, I think you should have some cushion. Again, this is my first year with you guys doing this and coming in the
You're doing
last
fine.
of it.
You're doing fine.
I don't want to shortchange you. And then be up here on the chopping block next year at this time.
So Cheryl, Aaron mentioned 160, wasn't sure if that's enough, but isn't your number 3 proposing 215 extra?
That's what I suggested, and here's a little also. The Personnel Committee met today, and we have 4 candidates that were interviewed, 2 of which are very good. And so the visions were, do we increase the park and recreation activities and have a recreation director, coordinator, and then just hire receptionists? The impact on that is there. I only had a few minutes to put this together after personnel. So right now we have budgeted with the benefits close to 73,000. And then, no, it was 83,000. But then by adding this position up here, that would be a recreation supervisor, $29 an hour.
Didn't we used to have that position or something similar?
So now we're thinking 2 jobs instead of 1?
Yes.
We had great candidates, but it's not just to bring 2 candidates in, it's to look at the future of Cross Lake and where are we lacking. And we discussed a lot in the personnel about the teens. What are our teens doing? And what kind of activities can we bring in for the teens? And that was one component, but I'll let Dave and Sandy speak. They were...
Yeah, we had 2. We had a gal come in, and she would be great to replace Michelle at the front desk. But we had another guy come in, and he was about as dynamic as you could ask for.
His level, the most extensive background in recreation, he's done Camp Confidence, he's done like Ice Extravaganza. I mean, he is so involved and active and experienced and so many great ideas. I just think to lose him when we've just almost got him in our grasp, we thought, should we look ahead, you know, to a position like that? Yeah.
So if we did the 215, at least then we would have a little bit more cushion.
Because the one candidate for was not, I don't think that strong, but would be a fantastic receptionist. And that's really important to TJ to have someone who's the face of the community center who comes in and, I mean, that people.
So she would be hired at the lower end of
Yeah,
the scale,
lower end
and
of the
then this
scale.
other guy.
But you're still going to have to hire at the high end
What?
for the program person.
Right.
You're at the high end, so you're just adding to, you're paying that position and then you're adding another position.
For a motion for which option we choose, I don't know what you guys want to talk about, but I'm thinking that the one with the higher cushion is the smarter route to take right now.
Yeah, and this
can
is
always go
preliminary,
backwards.
so we can't go up.
Yeah, I feel like we're growing right now in a positive direction if we can get the right candidates, you know.
So you say it would cost us 105 instead of 83 plus?
No, it would be both.
Both of them?
Yeah, this would be your receptionist,
Okay.
and this would be your rec supervisor.
And what does it cost us today? What are we replacing? So
Approximately
going to-
80,000 is existing in the budget, so we
So
wouldn't
it's
have any
100 grand?
additional expense here. It's going to come here.
So it's adding 100 grand to the
Yep.
park and rec.
Yep. And that's everything.
How-
You got to look at the whole package, right?
His benefits, okay.
HSA, your,
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the third option with the $215,000 cushion.
and all the changes that we noted,
Changes that were discussed,
and adding the debt levy half-year payment.
all that, yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, then boost the, well, you have motion on the floor. Sorry.
Was that a secondary?
Sure.
Any other discussion?
I just want to make sure that we understand that when it comes time for truth and taxation, we should be willing, if the numbers work. I'm not a believer of a cushion in budgeting. It's what you need, and that's it. So if we find out that we only need 100,000 out of that 216, we better darn well decrease the levy, the final levy in December.
You can do that.
Yep,
I know you can, I'm making a point that,
and I think that's important too, and especially with the unknowns of the health insurance. And I really,
But make sure you do that decision in December, not in September. You need to make sure that you have it in case something like what we're doing right now comes up between now and December.
Well, when's our truth and taxation, December 9th?
What-
Oh, I've watched this go through several times.
the 10th, I think,
December.
is a Monday, or
It's the
9th,
first-
whatever is the Monday, it's at 6 o'clock. But I would like to, before we go public with that, tell you all the changes and where we're at and why we came down, and here's the justification for it. And then not at the public truth and taxation, because once my slideshow is ready, I'm hitting play and sitting down. And you guys have already approved it at that point.
You're hitting play and standing down?
Sitting down.
The final levy certification.
Yeah, I'll do a full PowerPoint, hit play, and that's it. That's how I do it.
So are you suggesting another meeting before, obviously before that final? Should we?
I hope that I think that maybe if we can meet a little bit before the November meeting, I can tell you everything that has been adjusted, and then come December, it'll all be ready.
Okay.
And then we'll have a little better feel on police and park and rec and
Yeah, for sure.
insurance and whatever.
Yeah.
We've set the levy for September, right?
Yes, that was that, let's have a cushion. I have to get it to the
vote.
county Monday.
you have to send it in now. It's got to be sent in before September 30th.
Yeah, I will do all these adjustments tomorrow and then get
Did
it
we vote
ready
on
to
that?
go.
Honestly, I'm lost.
I have to call and get
We
some
have a
numbers
second.
from Jason.
So I believe we have a motion and a second on that, Lori, so. All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Are we done?
2 hours.
I'll put it in the last time. Yeah, TJ's, thank you.